Well, yesterday we got off to a pretty decent start here to our first season in League 2 with Buxton with a win over Forest Green Rovers, but be fair, those guys are supposed to be a little bit rubbish today. Things will get a lot tougher with 2 away games, including our first one in the Carabao Cup. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 27 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Buxton FC. I hope you're doing well, and come up today we've got our second and third games of our first season up in EFL League 2, albeit one of them is in the Carabao Cup for the first time as we take on Crawley Town. Those guys expected to finish second in League 2, so definitely a tougher team than we took on yesterday in Forest Green Rovers. If you missed that one as well as the transfer recap, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. And then back into League 2, we take on our former senior affiliate here with this Buxton team, albeit they weren't a very good one. They're kind of rubbish, and that's Mansfield Town. Another team though expected to be up there, albeit they did lose their first game of the season 4-2 there against Hartlepool, and they've got our new affiliate Stoke coming up in the first round of the EFL Cup. So hopefully they'll go into that one in some poor form. But obviously with this being only a few days off the back of that Forest Green Rovers game that we did play yesterday, it does mean that not too much has changed here with this Buxton team, which thankfully responded to a couple of tactical changes there at halftime to turn around that 1-0 deficit and pick up a 2-1 win there. It does mean that now we're sticking with that lower tempo Buxton base, which worked so well for us last season, putting those fullbacks onto sport instead of those wing backs. That is really the only change, apart from the tempo going down to being slightly lower yet again. So we're going to try that during the course of today's episode, and probably for a fair while too, because to be fair, that does make sense trying to just slow things down and hold the ball with a team expected to be the worst up in a new league. But hopefully a few new players will get their debuts here during the course of today's episode. That did start that first game in yesterday's episode, in particular Ashton Muir there at right wing and also Lewis Jones there at left wing. Unfortunately, Chris Zay is still out with injury. Probably won't come back until off the back of today's episode, and Caden Kelly also on a rehab program, but not quite there yet. But we're going to try and play here some quite strong teams during the course of today's episode, just to get them a bit more familiar with how we play here at Buxton. That does also include the likes of Dennis DeWuna, our ESC player. And I think apart from that, it's pretty much a full strength 11 with a couple of players coming in there for some on heavy workload, like our new captain Jaden Sweeney as well as Teo Adalusi. So a couple of changes to that team that got the job done there over Forest Green Rovers. Let's hope that we can put up a decent fight here in the first round of the Carabao Cup, our first time being in this competition, as we take on Crawley Town. Those guys start off the season with a 3-1 away win against Tranmere Rovers. Probably better form than we bring into this, and to be fair, they weren't doing too badly in their pre-season against some quite good teams in Brighton and Rangers. They kept those close despite the fact that they were losses. This could be quite tough for us. It'll be interesting to see actually how close we can keep this compared to the Scunthorpe, who they take on soon in EFL League 2. Of course, the team were in a big title fight with for the large majority of the National League season last year. But we'll see how we get on here against Danny Deschio's men, who do like a 4-4-2 away here at the Broadfield Stadium. The only thing that's happened transfer-wise off the back of the episode we made our way through yesterday is that right back we were trying to get in as a McKnight replacement did indeed join us in Hamid Abdul Salim. A little bit surprised that he did end up choosing us. I think it was over Shrewsbury Town, but maybe we were going to give him a bit more game time there as a squad player, but he comes in as the backup to Alfie Pinion. So I'd imagine that might wrap up our transfer business unless something else does happen during the early stages of the season, like a long-term injury, because still got quite a bit of money, 40k now in the transfer budget. That is because I switched a fair bit over into the scouting budget just to up that a little bit, but also we've still got 9k spare there in the wage as well. So if we need to, we can sign someone else if there's a big injury or something, but I'm pretty happy with the squad considering the options that we can sign here at Buxton. Let's see how we get on in today's episode, which, as I said, probably going to be a fair bit tougher than those games that we did play in yesterday's one. You may have also noticed there we signed another player. That was someone that was recommended from our director of football, who will go straight down into the under-21. So not much point showing you him, because I'm not too sure if we'll use him all this season. But change to our regular first choice 11 here do come with Leeson at right centre back. We've got Vokins there at left back as well. So we can actually use 9 subs here in the Carabao Cup. So we'll make the most of that here. Probably not a bad idea actually to call up a goalkeeper just in case we get injuries in that position, because I'm pretty sure so far in cup competitions in this save, goalkeeping injuries have kind of been a thing, but also coming in there apart from those changes in defence. DeWunder comes in for his debut. Pavey, an advanced playmaker, and Muir Jones will make their debuts on the wingers. Hembury, let's get him up there to the senior squad to sit on the bench here for this cup game, get rid of all those under 21 players, and fingers crossed there we can do something decent against this Crawley Town team, but definitely a much tougher task than what we have yesterday. Let's give here our new signing at right back, number 55, because why not? 5's a little bit of a right back number, and see what we can do here in this game, because this is quite tricky away from home. As I said, trying to keep here most of our first team players playing some regular minutes early, because I imagine we will get knocked out quite early in this competition. Could be quite useful for them. Just get a bit more familiar with our tactic early in the season, and then later on, maybe we rotate if we secure safety. And also those rotation players, they can play for the under 21s this season. They're in a proper league, unlike what's been the case over the last few seasons that we have been here with this Buxton team. But definitely a tough one for us here in today's episode, just like Mansfield Town. But to be fair, we did beat Mansfield in a friendly before we started things last season, so I'm thinking they might be a little bit more beatable. Not too sure about these guys, especially with a throw in here inside of the final third inside the first 5 minutes. But good weekly from Muir, albeit we can't quite keep that ball. Burrows there will play it to Water. It goes back there to Kamara and back up to Burrows down the right-hand side. Let's see what he can do. To be fair, double marking him, it doesn't work. And then there's a tackle there from Vokins on his starting debut, and he gives away a penalty. The penalties here still do seem quite high compared to what was the case early in the save, but Casper with a really good one there from the penalty spot. To be fair, that penalty, it wasn't the strongest one, not much power, but we keep it at 0-0 early. Hopefully that's a sign of some good things to come, albeit big chance there, I think it was for Baker for Crawley Town, but thankfully he puts that one just wide. But early stages here, we're on the back foot, but it probably should be 1-0 with those two big chances that Crawley Town have had. But unfortunately, they're back on the attack here with a throw-in inside our half. Burrows again here, looking quite dangerous inside of the final third. And that one, I think, came off the woodwork, albeit they go back into the inner box there. And thankfully, Casper with a good save will encourage, because it's almost up to 15 minutes. I was hoping that might cut out this corner. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and Casper will punch that one clear. So Charlie Casper, the Ghost, having a brilliant start here to this game, as Muir does give away there a bit of a soft foul. Hopefully, though, that might break up these highlights that we are seeing. No would be the answer. The Scotsman there giving away a free kick, but thankfully Pavey can clear that one. And finally, that long highlight comes to an end. But Crawley Town here are all over us early, but thankfully we've somehow found a way there, keep it at 0-0 largely, because Charlie Casper is actually having a blinder in a cup competition. Let's see how long he can keep it up here. But so far, we've done nothing in terms of our attack, and again, a throw-in here for Crawley inside of the final third. But good work there from Hewlett to win that ball for us there. Does go out to our right-hand side. Gets put under pressure, though, from that Crawley Town pressure. And unfortunately, Muir just drifts some field a little bit there, and Crawley can get a pretty easy win there of that ball down their left-hand side. It goes back out there to Ward, who puts that one into the mixer, and Will Swan will head that one home. Casper potentially could have actually caught that one, albeit considering how well he's done so far in this game, probably need to give him a break with that one, because he's actually kept us in this game so far. But this ball here, I think Casper probably could actually catch that one. But to be fair, a couple of really good saves from him already. That goal was probably coming. We do go 1-0 down now. Fingers crossed we don't just completely collapse off the back of that opening goal that we have conceded, because so far we've done nothing in this game. And now there is a corner to Crawley. They go near post, but thankfully that one comes off the woodwork. Okadina will put that one far post, but thankfully we head that one out there for a throw-in. But being put under all sorts of pressure here by the team expected to finish second in League 2. Only 1-0 down though at half-time. I'm not too disappointed with that, considering that we've done absolutely nothing when we've had the ball. Let's make some subs. Leeson on a yellow card. Thomas Williams can come off him. Jake Leake, who is unhappy here at the club, we're trying to get rid of him. We'll bring him on there for Vokins on a 6.4. Midgley for Pavey, also on a 6.4. Muir, not too good on debut, a 6.4. Let's bring Cole on for him. Of course, did score a goal in that game yesterday, and it ended up being the winning one against Forest Green Rovers. So let's see here if quite a few subs at halftime as well as a bit of a rebuff here might get our guys going in the second half. Not expecting it, but a couple of players here with a lot more experience with our system, in particular Midgley and Colville, hopefully might make a difference. But unfortunately, looks like it might be carrying on here the same way that it did in that first half, Crawley Town, with a throw-in inside our area of the field. Burrow squares that one, and it finds John Jules, who puts it away in the bottom left corner. Only 5 minutes into the second half, and they grab a cushion goal. So definitely finding things a lot tougher here in this game than we did against Forest Green Rovers today. To be fair, we were 1-0 down at halftime in that game. But these guys, they look proper good so far. We've been up to absolutely nothing in terms of our attack, despite the fact we have had the ball more. We finally get a shot off there for 0.14 XG. They've got 3.24. So to be fair, our defence are actually doing quite a good job. We just need to try and do something attacking-wise in this game. And that ball, not too good, but somehow it does find Jones. And then Garner tries to put that one past the goalkeeper at his near post with a good block there from a Crawley Town defender. Does mean this does stay 2-0. Desperately need a goal soon here in this game. Otherwise, do think we're going out in the first round of this Carabao Cup. Pinion there, a bit loose on the ball though from that pass forward, and we can't keep hold of him now. We'll make our final sub because Manning does drop down to a 6.3. To be fair, so does Jed Garner. And we don't really have a midfield option on the bench, so actually going to bring on here Lahane with our final sub. Was just about to encourage, but there's a corner to Crawley Town. They'll put this one there, dead centre into the box, and Josh Flint will make it 3-0. So we may as well here go for something a bit crazy that was working for us late last season, like a bit more attacking there with our players who are out wide. Let's just see if this helps, because obviously being 3-0 down in a cup game, we may as well go for it. So we'll go a bit higher tempo here, be more expressive, also chuck those wingers onto attack as well. And both those midfielders, let's just see if that works like it did late last season. But to be fair, that was when we were playing teams quite low down in the National League. This is against one of the better teams in League 2, but unfortunately, just not up to much in this game. Crawley Town have put us under tons of pressure, and they finally get somewhere close to the XG and make it 3-0. Let's hope we can somehow find a way here, get on the front foot a bit more late on in this game now that we are going a bit more attacking, but so far doesn't look like it's working as now Manning drops down to a red heart. So maybe Midgley might get a start when we take on second up today, Mansfield Town. But with 10 minutes left, let's try the 4-1-4-1 that did work a little bit for us late last season. Put their Manning back onto attack as their attacking midfielder and just see if that might get us here going late in this game. But unfortunately, as I say that, a free kick to Crawley, who looked to make it 4-0, not hit away too well, and Ward there on the volley, but thankfully that shot does go well over the bar. But fair to say, this might be a reality check for us here, second up this season with this Buxton team, but thankfully it does come in the Carabao Cup. Might be a chance for us to bounce back when we take on Mansfield Town, but still definitely going to be big outsiders for that game. We definitely got something going when I think we chuck those midfielders onto attack instead of on support as well as those wide players. I think that helped, but overall, there was a bit of a fresh, and Casper kept us in it early, but eventually we did concede there going down 1-0 just before halftime, and Crawley just put the foot down there in the second half, and they beat us 3-0. So unfortunately, our stay in this season's Carabao Cup is not a long one. Let's hope we can find a way to bounce back when we take on our former senior affiliate in Mansfield Town. So unfortunately got a bit bashed there away from home against Crawley Town the first round of that Carabao Cup, but thankfully now we go back into League 2 where hopefully we can find a way to bounce back and at least put up more of a fight against our former senior affiliate here in Mansfield Town. This will be quite interesting, as I said before. Did beat these guys last year pre-season back when we were down in the National League off the back of that promotion up from, of course, the National League North. Let's see though how we get on in a game that they might take a little bit more seriously. And of course, last season they were up in League 1. They got relegated, so that's why they're expected to be quite high up there in terms of the season, albeit so far they've lost to Hartlepool and indeed did lose to Stoke City, albeit only 1-0. In Stoke City, of course, these days our senior affiliate are up in the Championship, expected to finish in 8th. That result actually probably not too bad there for Mansfield coming in to this game, but let's hope we can find a way to hopefully take something off them and keep ourselves up there in a good position early in League 2 and just see if we can pick up some points whenever we put ourselves into a good spot to do so, because really there aren't too many expectations on us this season in terms of trying to keep these guys up. You can see there are a team, quite a few players coming up from the under-21s to fill the bench, and unfortunately a few that have played both games so far this season in terms of starting them are now on a heavy workload. So it does mean that Abdul Salam comes in there at right back for a debut. Leeson switches to left centre back, and Alalusi comes back, and that's because Hewlett drops down to a heavy workload, so needs to be rested for this game. And also, we've got Midgley in centre midfield, as we thought before, our new signing there in central midfield, who got down to that red heart quite late in that previous game. He can't start this one. And also, Lahane comes in there for Ghana up front. So a couple more changes for this game that we're going to play here in an EFL League 2, but fingers crossed here, we can find a way to pick up a point and keep ourselves away from those teams down near the relegation zone nice and early. So if we get into a poor run of form later this season, we might have a cushion over those teams. But this definitely is our toughest match so far in the league, because Forest Green at home, they weren't supposed to be very good, and we actually made that one quite hard until those changes we did make at halftime. So we'll see how we get on here away from home, albeit the first highlight just shy of the 20-minute mark here is a free kick to Mansfield Town. They loop that one far post, and Joe Anderson will hit it home, but thankfully for some reason he's straight offside, because that was pretty much into an open net. Thankfully he was offside. It is still 0-0, but Mansfield there with a great chance to open the scoring. They somehow don't take it, and now there's a chance for us here to try and make our way out from back. Our new captain Sweeney plays it forward to Midgley. That ball was a bit undercooked, but thankfully Jones did some good work to keep us here on the pill. The former Liverpool man who's making his league debut for us here in this game. DeWuna plays that one back there to Leeson, who switches out to the right-hand side for this game. Midgley up to Jones. Lovely ball. They're looking for Lahane. That shot, though, got a bit too much on it, and the Mansfield Town goalkeeper can tip that one over the crossbar. But now we've got a chance here from set piece. Salem goes looking for someone at the near post. Unfortunately, can't find them. But if you're not too sure who the aerial threat will be in this game with no Hewlett or no Garner, because those two would have been our big targets last season, our striker or our left centre back. Not too sure if Leeson is quite as good in the air as someone like Hewlett. To be fair, off the back of that corner, though, this highlight does go on for a fair while on the attack here. We try and find Jones there inside the box, goes back out to Sweeney, who pulls it across the air for Sebastian Williams back in for this game, and he scores in back-to-back League 2 games and gives us a 1-0 lead. That highlight did go on for a fair while. I was wondering why it hadn't stopped. That's the reason why we take a 1-0 lead to Sweeney there. Good work, pulls that one in there, and for some reason Williams gets left all alone, can bang that one past Whitley into the top right corner. We make it 1-0, so fingers crossed now we somehow find a way to grab something from this game, because that would be a brilliant start, especially our first league game away from home off the back of what happened before in the League Cup against Crawley Town. But now Mansfield, they are on the attack. Rogers plays that one back there to Newton. They pull this one into the mix room. Good win. We'll beat our goalkeeper there from a tight angle, but again, they just straight offside. No VAR in this league, which so far I think is saving us here in this game. And then a free kick, and Casper just tips that one onto the woodwork. So our goalkeeper here today having quite a good episode. Thankfully, we deal with that danger at the near post corner, albeit now they'll float this one far post looking for good win. But again, Mansfield, they do just straight offside. So our defensive line so far in this game is working quite well. DeWuna dropping down there to a little bit of a deep yellow heart here on a 6.5 off the back of starting that game for us in the League Cup, and also drops down to a 6.4. So I think that's our sub here at halftime. Mohammed can come on for him. But apart from that, not actually too disappointed with that first half. Mansfield probably should have a goal in this game, but thankfully they went offside a couple of times, and we grabbed our chance when we had it there through Sebastian Williams and have a 1-0 lead. Let's hope that we can find a way here to at least make sure Mansfield only grab one goal in the second half and pick something up from this game. But that is a big injury. Sebastian Williams, who's so far probably been our best player here this season, a goal in both our league games, is forced from the field. Charlie Pavey will come on for him with an early sub here in the second half. And now Mansfield do have a corner here, and they'll try and put this one near post. But thankfully, we just find a way there to deal with the danger, albeit they are back on the ball. Ian Dolo somehow plays that one back out there to Misson, who thankfully just goes missing the goal. And then that one forces a good save out of Casper. So Mansfield here on the front foot off the back of that big injury that we did just suffer, and thankfully just do enough there to scramble that ball away from that corner. So far, our defence in this game is doing a really good job. I'm very concerned, though, about that Williams injury, because he's definitely been our best player so far this season. Let's hope that one is not too serious. But just about to make our way into the final 20 minutes of this game, and we still somehow have a 1-0 lead here away from home. We'll continue to praise the guys. Probably actually need to do this even if we end up locked up at 1-1, because this definitely is not a game we're expecting to get anything from. Just debating if we make some subs here going in the final 15 minutes. But to be fair, I think we hold them off for the moment. We've still got 2 stoppages and 3 more subs we can make, and we're in a winning position. No one out there is playing too badly. We might just be sensible with these last couple of subs that we do have, but this would be a great result if we could hold on to it. 6 points from our first 2 games, and especially this one away from home. Just about to make our way now into the final 10 or so minutes of this game. Let's start to time waste ever so slightly. Still no one out there though on a red heart or playing too badly, but we're on the ball now off the back of trying to put those changes through and get the time wasting going here a little bit in this game. Play it forward immediately, but if we can hold on to this result, it will keep us inside of the playoff picture. Not expecting that to last too long as we play it forward there to the Hane. Could have tried a shot, but maybe a good option there to pick out Salem down our right-hand side back in there. Or Mohammed, who goes looking for the bottom left corner. That would have been quite useful there. A potential cushion goal, but unfortunately that one goes just wide. And now it's Ashton Muir who drops down to a red heart with one of our last couple of subs here. Zach Henry can do a job at right wing, so we'll bring him on there at right wing instead of striker. We would usually like to play him. And also, let's start to time waste here quite a bit more frequently and try and hold on here to our 1-0 lead. Of course, do it one more stoppage as well, which could slow things down nicely. And now Harry Leeson drops down to a red heart. Before this highlight starts here, let's take him off. That will be for Williams and also Curtis. He can come on here for Abdul Salim, who also drops down to a red heart. So to be fair, these 5 subs we've got here in League 2, I do quite like it compared to the situation in the National League. A good chance there for Mansfield Town. That time, they actually stayed on side. That one looked a bit more clear cut, I thought, than the goals that got ruled out in the first half. But apparently, he was onside. Thankfully, he missed the target, and we make our way there through injury time. That's a massive win away from home. I wouldn't say we deserved it that much. Mansfield had a lot of highlights there in their favour, but to be fair, overall, we got more shots and more shots on target. Thankfully, quite efficient with those chances that we did get, especially that goal yet again there to Sebastian Williams. And that's a big result for the second time in a couple of seasons. We do beat Mansfield Town. That might be a team that we have the wood over now in the save off the back of that pre-season result last season. But that does mean a perfect 6 points from our first 2 games. And more importantly, a good bounce back there from that 3-0 defeat to Crawley Town, who you'll see there are up in second. So that loss actually not too bad. Pretty good start so far for life in League 2 off the back of that 1-0 win at Mansfield Town. So a big 3 points for us on the road there to finish off today's episode. That makes it 6 from 6 now in League 2. Still early days this season, but I think we're showing enough to potentially suggest that hopefully won't be involved in a relegation battle and can keep these guys up in League 2 for our first season in the EFL. A quick check here on that injury to Sebastian Williams. A twisted ankle. That'll keep him out for 5 to 6 weeks once we send him to the physio. So that is a bit of a blow because so far he's been brilliant. 2 goals in 2 games in the league. Let's hope that won't hurt us too much. And be fair, as is often the case here in FM, just as someone gets injured, a player's coming back in the same position. It does seem a little bit sketchy that that does keep happening. But Caden Kelly should be back in time for our next game in a week against Gillingham from a broken lower arm. So thankfully, a remade replacement coming back there for Sebastian Williams, but that is a little bit of a blow. But thankfully, on 6 points from our first 2 games, which is definitely better than I was expecting. I was hoping we'd pick up 3 yesterday in that Forest Green game at home. Those 3 points, definitely a bit more unexpected. Also interesting to see that Max Meta is up near the top there of the goal scoring charts, the New Zealander for Shrewsbury Town, who, if they were in the game, should be at Auckland FC in the A-League, but of course they're not in the game here. He got loaned to Auckland City instead, like quite a few players did, considering I'm not too sure the people who build these databases know the difference between Auckland City and Auckland FC. Auckland City, for a couple of years there, probably had a pretty stacked squad with the likes of Alex Paulson and Hiroki Sakai, but we don't need to worry about that, seeing as we're not managing in New Zealand. 6 points from 6 there to start off life in League 2. Let's hope we can keep ourselves in a good run of form early to hopefully distance ourselves from those teams who are down in that relegation zone. But that will do it for today's episode. A good win there to back up that big defeat we did suffer in our first game in the Carabao Cup. But if you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, seeing as we're doing quite well early stages this season, what we might do is skip forward a bit more off the back of today's episode. Don't think we'll do too much more in the transfer window because I'm pretty sure I got rid of quite a few release clauses for players who had interest in them off the back of losing both Morgan and McKnight going into the start of the season. Gillingham, I'd like to think we can beat them next up with that game being at home and those guys all the way down in 24th, so maybe we can make it 9 points from 3 to start the season. Then things get tougher. Fleetwood away at Crington, Stanley, and also the Aston Villa under-21s in the EFL Trophy. But to be fair, I don't think anyone cares about the EFL Trophy, even the teams down in League 2. What we might come back for is those games there in late September. Walsall, they're currently in 10th. That one is at home, but they're expected to finish around 12th. So a mid-table team, that could be quite interesting off the back of taking on teams expected to finish near the top and near the bottom. I'll just check Cheltenham Town because that's the other team we take on at home. They're supposed to be quite rubbish, so I think we'll take on their Walsall in our first game tomorrow, and we might also come back and see what Barrow have to offer away from home. Of course, that's the team who offered us the job interview, but didn't give us the job at the end of last season. So I think we'll come back for those games there in late September unless something pops up in between now and then. That is quite a big game, but hard to tell this early on in the season. But so far, looking pretty decent here in League 2 with those 2 wins from 2. But until tomorrow, we're no doubt we will lost to someone by the time we come back for that episode. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.